A golf fan went on social media and accused the PGA Tour of contradicting its own rules. Billy Horschel does not read something like that and say nothing. He never has. Ask the fan at the Cognizant Classic who said the wrong thing and got a very public correction. Ask anyone who has followed him on X over the last 3 years. Horschel talks. When he thinks someone is wrong, he says so. Sponsor exemption. And a fan who thought they had caught the PGA Tour in an embarrassing contradiction. They hadn't. And the confusion is worth walking through, because it reveals something real about how complicated professional golf has become in the last 2 years. The Genesis Scottish Open is happening this week at the Renaissance Club in North Berwick, Scotland. $9 million prize fund, the week before the Open Championship at Royal Birkdale. 6 of the world's top 10 players are in the field, including Rory McIlroy, Scottie Scheffler, Jon Rahm, and Tyrrell Hatton. It's one of the strongest non-major fields assembled all season. Brooks Koepka was in it, on a sponsor exemption. If you followed the PGA Tour this year, you know Koepka returned from LIV Golf under the returning member program. As part of his return, he's specifically ineligible for sponsor exemptions into signature events. He can't accept an invitation into those $20 million limited field events. He has to earn his way in through a win, the world rankings, or the Aon Next 10 standings. So when a fan saw Koepka listed in the Scottish Open field with a sponsor exemption, the reaction was understandable. Leave it to the PGA Tour to have so many rules that they eventually contradict themselves. That's a reasonable thing to think if you don't know what the Scottish Open actually is. Horschel, who has played this event multiple times and is one of the most internationally minded players on the American circuit, knows better than almost anyone. The Genesis Scottish Open is not a PGA Tour signature event. It's co-sanctioned by the DP World Tour and the PGA Tour, a Rolex Series event on the European calendar that runs under DP World Tour rules for field composition. The restrictions on Koepka's sponsor exemption eligibility for PGA Tour signature events don't apply here. Koepka receiving a sponsor exemption into the Scottish Open doesn't contradict anything the PGA Tour told him when he came back. The PGA Tour said no sponsor exemptions into signature events. This isn't a signature event. That rule isn't being broken. It isn't even relevant. Here's the thing worth noting. The fan wasn't being malicious, just confused, and given how complicated the PGA Tour's rule structure has become in the last 2 years, that's understandable. There are signature events and non-signature events. The returning member program, with its specific conditions for Koepka, LIV players banned from the PGA Tour but able to play co-sanctioned DP World Tour events like the Scottish Open if they've paid their fines, and Rahm and Hatton in the same field as Koepka, Scheffler, and McIlroy, all under different rule structures simultaneously. It's genuinely difficult to keep track of, even for people who follow this closely. But the contradiction the fan identified isn't real. The rule Koepka agreed to is about PGA Tour signature events specifically. He agreed not to receive sponsor exemptions into those. He's playing the Scottish Open on a DP World Tour sponsor exemption. Different tour, different rules, different exemption structure. Horschel knows this because he's spent years playing on both tours. He's one of the very few American players who has voluntarily invested in the DP World Tour circuit, believing it makes him a better player and person. He's won the BMW PGA Championship at Wentworth twice and played the French Open, Irish Open, and Scottish Open repeatedly. He knows the difference between a PGA Tour signature event and a co-sanctioned DP World Tour Rolex Series event, the way most of us know the difference between a local restaurant and a national chain. They're just different things. That knowledge is what makes the public correction land so cleanly. Something worth sitting with that most coverage is missing. The reason Rahm and Hatton can play the Scottish Open while effectively banned from PGA Tour events is equally interesting and equally misunderstood. Those players paid substantial fines to the DP World Tour for playing LIV golf events without permission. Rahm, Hatton, and 6 other LIV players agreed in February 2026 to pay all outstanding fines and withdraw pending appeals. In exchange, they were granted conditional releases allowing them to play DP World Tour events without further sanctions. The DP World Tour was explicit that these agreements apply only to the 2026 season, so Koepka left LIV and returned to the PGA Tour under a formal program. Rahm and Hatton are still on LIV but have paid their way back into DP World Tour eligibility by settling their fines. All three are in the same Scottish Open field. Fans make reasonable but incorrect assumptions about how the rules work. That's a problem the PGA Tour needs to think about. The fan who posted about contradictory rules wasn't being unreasonable. They were applying logic to what they could see. The logic was wrong because the underlying structure is so layered that you need to understand 4 different tour agreements simultaneously to see why it makes sense. Horschel has the knowledge and the personality to correct that publicly. In doing so, he isn't just defending the tour, he's doing something the tour itself rarely does well, explaining itself clearly. It's a small thing, but in a sport where the rulebook keeps growing more layers, having a credible player willing to walk fans through the actual mechanics matters more than it might seem. The Scottish Open tees off this week with one of the best fields assembled outside a major. The politics around who is in it may be complicated. The golf itself, when it starts, will not be. Koepka withdrew due to a hand injury he's been managing for several weeks. The field has moved on without him. But the conversation his exemption started is still running, and it's a useful one. A reminder that a rule can be entirely intact even when, at first glance, it looks broken. For once, the correct answer is genuinely simple. Read the rule. It says signature events. This isn't one.